class, your inspiration source for knowledge and motivation to start living fit now. Hi, I'm Laura Mack, your host, and I'm super excited about our guest that we have this evening. We have Wendy Traskos here, and she is top notch of her field. But first, before we get started with Wendy, I wanted to give a special thank you to our sponsors, which is Egg Whites International, which this is actually a product. I know, right? This is a product I've actually been using for over 10 years now, and it's perfect from everyone from kiddos to seniors and everyone in between. So when I was a competitive athlete at the top of my game, I was using it, and now that I'm a super mom, I'm still using it. So no matter what stage of life you're in, this is a really great product, and you can call in and ask for Mac and use the special code LauraMacFitness for a discount on your order, and you can pick out some special clothing. They have really fun shirts that have like sparkles on them, cool things, lots of really neat things. So you can either call in, or if you want to just find out more about it too, you can check it out on my blog. But Egg Whites International, thank you so much. Now let's check out with Wendy. I'm super excited. Wendy is top-notch in her field, and she's going to share a little bit about her background with us. Wendy, thank you so much for coming here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
Why don't you share just a little bit about your background and what kind of path took you into the pole dance avenue, and how did you get to the top of your field so quickly?
Well, it was a combination of things. First of all, I competed fitness back in the 90s, like 180 years ago, it seems like. But I competed fitness, and I've always loved to take care of my body. I've always loved to dance. And I had some experience with pole dancing back in the 90s a little bit, and it really made me just fall in love with it. I was always loved to climb things. I loved to, and then also combined with the form of expression with the dance, it was like a perfect marriage of things for me to do with my body. And I tried it in the 90s, and then took a hiatus for about 10 years. And then I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about how it was really growing over in Australia and in Europe and a little bit in Canada. And I was like, I want to open up my own pole dancing studio. And she's like, and I want you to be the first one in New York to do it. And so I just, right after that, I'm like, let me just go out and just see if I can find some space and put some poles up and start teaching. And it wasn't quite that easy, but I eventually did. And I think because I was one of the first studios in Manhattan, that helped me to excel pretty quickly. And I opened in 2005, so it was, pole dancing was still new as far as a fitness form or a fun form of exercise for women. And so I think that I lucked out. People would look up New York pole dancing, and there I came, because that was the name of my business. When they Google something, you Google New York and pole dance, and there I was. And so the first year I did 252 bachelorette parties at my studio. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. And then it just continued to grow for like 3 years after that. I had to get other studios to run classes for me. So it was a great way to introduce pole dancing, because women would go out for a bachelorette party just to do it for fun and be a little sexy and naughty, if you will. And then they were like, gosh, this is a great workout. I want to come back for classes. Do you have classes? So it was a great way to introduce my business to large groups of women. So that helped to make it grow very quickly as well.
Yeah, what a great marketing model that you had, because then you already had these groups of women coming in, and then obviously they're going to have a great time with it. And then you're like, yeah, of course, come on back again. We can keep doing this, and you can see how your body gets stronger and how your body starts changing physically, and how that carries over into other areas of your life. That's really cool, Wendy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because pole dancing can be very humbling for people, because a lot of people, when they see women pole dancing, they think, they make it look easy because they do it so well. And then so they think they can do it, and then they come in and they do like a simple spin, and then the next day they're really sore, and they're like, wow, this is actually a workout, and it's really hard and requires some skill. So and most women luckily are up for the challenge, so it's good.
Yeah, well, and it is so much upper body strength, and typically women are stronger lower body versus like upper body, and so what a great way to be able to balance it out and help strengthen those upper body muscles, and even those little teeny ones that you forget that you're using, or that are even there, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's usually one of the main things women will say when they first come in, I don't have any upper body strength. But in my studio, we teach very progressive training. So, you know, you have to walk before you run with anything if you want to not get injured and really have the ultimate, most long-term success. So,
Yeah.
so for instance, when we teach women to climb, which a lot of women are a little overwhelming with the climb because it seems like something that they shouldn't be able to do if they have no upper body strength. But we have a little technique of you use your leg strength when you climb. And like if you ever try rock climbing, it's a little similar to that. You know, you don't really do pull-ups up a rock. You know,
Right.
you step, you know, you're able to use a lot of your lower body strength in order to get up the rock. And the pole, we've realized that we can do it the same way on a pole, basically.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. That is really great. So why don't you share a few, I know there's quite a bit of myths about pole dancing, and yet there's this beauty and this artistic side of pole dancing. And I thought maybe we could cover that because some people might have a certain perception of pole dancing. They might not know the artistry of it or the strength, like a little bit that we just touched upon. But maybe you can share some of the myths and reveal the truths about those myths.
Well, I mean, you know, there's always the people who think that, you know, pole dancers are strippers because they dance on a pole. And I say that and I have a hard time not laughing when I say that because first of all, I mean, women strippers also wear high heels and women wear high heels to the office. So does that make her a stripper? And, you know, strippers don't always dance on poles either. It takes a lot of effort and, you know, strippers don't necessarily have to put up that kind of effort in order to do their job. So, you know, I mean, obviously that's kind of where it came from for the most part. And I think that a lot of women like to try pole dancing because it seems a little naughty or something that maybe they always kind of fantasized about doing. And these pole dancing studios around the United States allow them to get, you know, to feel sexy, but not be in an environment that's maybe not healthy for them or not something that they want to go home and tell their families about. So it allows them to come into a studio and feel very safe and be around a supportive group of women and get the workout they need and express themselves. So it does come from the strip club, but that's not what women are doing in these classes.
Yeah. And
And
so
it's
let's
okay
talk
to
about
be
it.
sexy.
What's that?
I said, and it's okay to be sexy, you know, and
Absolutely.
most women don't have that opportunity to do that in their lives. And so in their real life, you know, you're not really supposed to be sexy when you're a mother or you're a working woman, you know, you're a businesswoman, and you come into a pole class and you get to show that side of yourself, and maybe you'll do a recital and you can dance for your friends too. And, you know, it just allows people to kind of test the waters and have some fun and express themselves and get the resistance training in that all women need. So.
Right, absolutely. And it's like it's just another and just another art form actually. You know, like there's different styles of dance and this is one another style I would put like right in that category. You just have a prop that's with you that you're using all the time, I think. And so it does have that strength and it is rhythmical and it is athletic. So I think
Absolutely.
um what are some of the other parts of the artisticness of the pole dancing that some might be forgetting?
Well, I mean, you know, what makes pole, one of the things that makes pole very unique is that you can express yourself however you want to express yourself. So
Mhm.
women will sometimes do contemporary dance and incorporate pole moves into their contemporary dance. Or they'll do salsa and they'll incorporate pole into their salsa and they'll dance around the pole like the pole is their partner and then climb up the pole and do all kinds of athletic stuff. And so, you know, it's up to you, the artist, the dancer, to decide how you want to express yourself. And if that's through salsa, if that's through, you know, sexy sort of exotic dancing, or if that's through contemporary dance. And some women will even take it another level and do like comedy, you know, and do like comedy kind of dancing, pole dancing. So, and you know, pole dancing, you can do whatever genre of dance that you want to do. You just incorporate the pole work, you know, and so it's up to you. I mean, I prefer the sexier high heel style,
Mhm.
just because again, like I was saying, I don't really have an outlet in my life that I can really express myself that way. And so it's fun for me. And, you know, I always say that, like, I always kind of compare it a little bit to ballet.
Uh-huh.
Um, ballet, you know, is a very expensive thing to go see. Oops, hold on, sorry. My computer just went to sleep. Ballet is an expensive thing for people to go and see in the theater, right? And women are dressed in very little clothing, and often there's men that are touching them while they're doing it. So I'm not really sure. And there's, you know, doing splits and, you know, looking very sexy when they're doing it, and that seems to be okay. So I don't know how when you put a pole in there that it completely changes everything. And ballet, they wear the ballet point shoes, which is not really good for your posture or your body so much.
Oh,
Kind
boy.
of like the high heels are not really good for your posture and your body. So, you know, they're a little similar, sort of, you know, but there's just no man involved. So somehow pole dancing to me seems a little more G-rated than ballet. But that's just my opinion.
Right. I
But
love that when you were talking about how there's the different styles where like there could be a salsa routine with it or a contemporary routine. Maybe we'll be seeing it on Dancing with the Stars sometime. Who knows?
they've had it on what's the show? Not America's Next Top Model. The one where it's the talent show. It's like X Factor or whatever. They've had it on those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and America's Most Talented and whatever. They've had pole dancers on all of those shows already, and some of them have done quite well. One guy was from New York here, and he made it to like the third round or something. I don't watch those shows that people are appreciating it. I lost your picture.
It's staying like that mainstream and getting a little bit more publicity that way. I think that's really going to keep it in the forefront, and as pole dancing continues to evolve and the strength with it, I think it can only keep growing. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, and that's what's so nice about pole dancing. It's like if you do hip hop, you kind of have to stay in the hip hop box. If you do ballet, you kind of have to stay in the ballet box, you know. And so with pole dancing, there is no box. You know? You do whatever you want and express yourself however you feel that you want to express yourself. You don't want to wear shoes, don't wear shoes. If you want to wear sneakers, wear sneakers. If you want to wear high heels, wear high heels.
It's all about that style and whatever you want to portray for that particular style, and it's
expressing
up to the
yourself.
individual. Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. So I know you've been an athlete and you've been into fitness and you're a certified trainer. Has there been times that you've used pole dancing to strengthen injuries or to overcome injuries? Can you share a little bit more about that with us?
I have personally, when I started pole dancing, I had a torn rotator cuff in my right shoulder. And I had gotten to the point where I really couldn't do, at first I couldn't do any chest movements and I couldn't do any lateral movements. And then it got to the point where I couldn't even do any like pulling movements. And so I stopped weight training altogether, I've always weight trained. So it was really, really hard for me to do. And I let it rest for a couple of months. And then when I started pole dancing, I started incorporating like shoulder stability exercises, lots of planks, handstands, started doing rotator cuff exercises. And when I was diagnosed with, was told that I had the rotator cuff tear, I was told that I should get surgery. And I was just like, oh God, I don't want to get surgery on my shoulder. I don't know anybody that's had surgery on their shoulder, and their shoulder was like that much better when they got done. So I just kind of rehabbed it through doing pole dancing, but very slow and progressive, and here we use a term called blocking your shoulders, which they used to use that where I used to do gymnastics. So I don't know if you had ever heard of that, blocking your shoulders. So, but blocking your shoulders, basically just kind of stacking your shoulders, and then when your shoulders are down, your back muscles can work, the bigger muscle body parts or bigger muscle groups are ready to work, and then those muscles, then your shoulder is not strained quite as much. So when I was first starting to pole dance, I was just very conscious of always engaging my back and keeping my shoulders down and not, overworking my traps. And knock on wood, I've had a couple flare-ups here and there when I've done something kind of stupid or weird, but for the most part, 11 years, and I have a couple limitations, certain really advanced moves that these girls are doing, I just will never do, but that's okay. I don't need to have to do every pole trick, as long as I can do stuff that makes me feel good. And I can do a ton of tricks. But there's
Right.
some really advanced things that I can't do, and that's fine. But I'm able to pole dance and I stay in shape from it, and it's fun, and I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of it, not only just teaching, but also just in my own craft.
Right.
And so it's helped my shoulder a lot. I just have to be, careful and conscious of what I'm doing.
Yeah. So how often would you say that you get your own pole dancing workouts? Are you able to train yourself like 3 days a week or 5 days a week, or what would you say that you personally get to do? Because I know it's different when you're an instructor because you've got to have a little energy to do some demonstrating, and then you're also critiquing and helping your students learn. But how much time do you actually get to spend doing crafting your art?
Well, I'm also a personal trainer in the morning, and I never train with my clients. Like I'll show them, how to do something properly, and then I'll be your cheerleader, but I'm not
Right.
doing it with you.
Yeah.
With pole dancing, sometimes it's a little different. It depends on the level of class that you're teaching. The lower level classes are usually a little more physically challenging because people need a visual constantly as they're learning. And so
Yeah.
it makes you have to continue to keep moving. Um,
Right.
but so I'm pretty active in my classes, even my advanced classes. And so
Uh,
sometimes I take the advanced classes as an opportunity for me to practice a little bit on my own stuff because
right.
everybody's practicing and they're like, oh, show me again. And I'm like, okay, I'll show you again because I need to practice it. And so I do get some practice time in the upper level classes that I teach. But I would say, as far as what I isolate to my own practice time, is probably something between 4 to 6 hours a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is
That's
pretty, in that, that's quite a bit, it's like resistance training 6 hours a week. So it's
yeah.
significant, but it's fun. So I don't mind it.
Right. So it
Pretty
doesn't
strong.
feel like you're working, right? You're
Yeah.
just you're practicing your craft, you
Right.
know?
Exactly. Exactly. And I know that the better pole dancer I am, the more inspiring I am to my students. And my
Mhm.
students will be more, inspired to come to class and learn more stuff. And especially because I'm usually much older than most of my students, I'm even more inspiring because they're like, crap, when I get her age, I want to be able to still do that stuff. So I'm definitely one of the older people in the game.
Not
I mean, there
that
are
age,
some,
are we?
what'd you say?
I said we're not at that age, are we?
No, no. Well, I mean, no, but I am at the age that, I mean, I'm in an industry that has a lot of 20-year-olds and 30
Has a
year
lot of youth
olds.
in it. Yes, I
Yeah,
understand.
exactly. I mean, there
Good.
are women in their 50s and 60s that are doing it, and women that are in their 40s. But as an instructor, you always want to stay one step ahead of your students. So,
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the age range, so why do you think, give me a couple more reasons why pole dance fitness can be good for anyone and everyone.
I mean, there's so many reasons of why it's good for women of all ages and all sizes and from everywhere. But basically, I mean, pole dancing is resistance training, and it's fun. And
Right.
most women don't really get. I mean, not all. Obviously, there's a lot of women that love going to the gym, but I think
Right.
a lot of women also go to the gym because they love being in shape
Right.
and not necessarily love lifting weights. But it's super fun to pole dance and climb up the pole and hang from one arm or hang from one leg, and it's really exciting. And so I think that definitely the resistance training has a big allure for women for the most part because that's what changes their bodies. And then they start coming to class and they're like, oh my gosh, I've got these biceps now, my abs are coming in, and these are women that are getting into pole dancing and their bodies are changing and they're not doing much with their diet. And so it's pretty powerful because then if you incorporate the diet, I mean, imagine the results that you can see when you start really thinking about what you're putting into your body to make you a better athlete.
Right. It's so interesting because that's when I'm starting with a client, I always start with the exercise portion first, at least for the first month, because I want to let them focus on one thing at a time instead of
Yeah.
doing too many things and getting overwhelmed with it. But 99% of the time, when they start focusing on their exercise within that first week or two, they're like, well, what should I be eating now? And I'm like, well, you probably know a lot of the right things. Let's just take one or two things and maybe we can decrease those or remove them. Like simple changes like, take out the
Yeah.
bread or take out the white things and
Baby steps.
just a couple of simple things, but nothing too dramatic. But it seems so much easier when exercise is kicking in, the metabolism starts kicking in a little bit more, and then it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, no, I don't need that extra piece of toast, or I don't need extra carbs today because I'm feeling really good and strong, and no, I don't need dessert. I'm good. I'm gonna do that upside down twist and spiral down safely.
Right, exactly. With my toes pointed.
Yeah, so I really find that's interesting how getting started with it and then just seeing those little changes in the body, which I guess, with your clients, that's the same thing that they see, like their strength is getting better and they're like, oh, well, I could do this and I could get even a little bit stronger or a little bit faster, a little bit higher on it or better extension. And so I really find that it's so neat to see how it carries over not only into like their nutrition, but I think you've said this before too, how it can carry over into other areas of life, like their confidence.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really what it's about, because if a woman feels confident, she's really capable of doing anything. And I think that when these women will do pole dancing and they start learning these tricks that they thought they would never be able to do, and then they're like, well, I never thought I could do that, but I did it. So maybe anything is really possible. And so, I mean, you see, especially if you're a woman in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s, and you're doing all this amazing physical stuff and hanging from one leg and climbing up a pole like a monkey, and you're just like, I mean, who ever thought I would be able to do that at this age? And then, and so it just really starts to make you feel really good. And like anything is possible if you really put your mind to it. And, and of course, when you exercise, endorphins get released, you feel good. But I also think that that part of the allure of pole dancing is the community that a lot of these pole dancing studios create. Because in my experience, that women are often very competitive with one another. They're often very competitive with one another, and so aren't as supportive as they should be for another woman.
Right.
And in these classes, it's amazing that, I mean, everybody just wants everybody to do good, and they're always cheering each other on. Oh my gosh, I look so amazing. That was so sexy. And it doesn't matter if she's, not a perfect size 4 or whatever, it's like, it's really just about just building confidence with, I think, the support of other women and you doing amazing things that you never thought that you could ever do. And yes, that spills into the rest of your life. It spills into your relationships. When you're more confident, obviously you're probably just a better person to be around. When you feel better about yourself, you're going to work harder. You might be more assertive at work. Walk down the street just with a smile on your face and just inviting more positive energy into your life. I mean, it's all relevant,
Yeah.
And so I think that also with the supportive community, it makes women want to come to class more. And so therefore they are more consistent, and therefore they see better results with their fitness regimen.
Right. Well, I feel like I feel like once you find your niche or your tribe or your pack of women that you find that supportive environment, it's like, oh wow, that made such a difference. And I feel like a lot of times you have to go different places to find it, whether it's a mom's group or if it's an exercise class or a pole class, you have to find and not all of those environments are necessarily guaranteed to give you the support that you need. So it's really neat to see that you've really created that environment. That's something that your studio is really, really known for. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we are very much known for that, which makes me really proud, because I'm just like, I mean, I guess I had part to do with that, but I just always try to run a good business and create a positive environment, but it's really the students that do it. And it's remarkable to see. And I've seen so many really, really amazing friendships be created at this studio, and people that you never thought would ever be friends, and it's just, I don't know, I think it's kind of special.
Yeah, it does touch your heart, right?
Yeah, really
I do have a question from Doralith, and she says, how would someone get started into pole fitness? And are there any certifications for someone who's interested in being an instructor?
Well, if you're looking to get involved as a student, then I would say Google your city and or state and put pole dancing or pole fitness, and you'll probably get a ton of options. I think there's pretty much pole dancing in every single state in the United States right now. And if you're having trouble finding something, you can feel free to email me, and I have a list of all the studios in the United States. I can refer you to something that's fairly close to you. And wait, what was the other question you asked me? I'm sorry.
The second part was, what are the best certifications for someone getting interested in becoming an instructor?
There's a lot of different options for the certifications. I have a I have a certification course that is called Climb and Spin. You can go to climbandspin.com and check out some information on that. And we have four different levels, three different levels that you can do that basically take you from the basic pole dance instructor up through about the lower advanced level, lower to intermediate advanced level. But there's a lot of different companies and people out there that are offering certifications. There's another one called Elevated that's quite good. And they focus a lot on stretching and flow movement, and they incorporate a lot of like kind of contemporary dance into their certification. There's another one called Pole Fitness. So again, you could probably Google pole dance and certification or certified instructor, and I'm sure these things will come up. But you can also go to climbandspin.com and check out my certification as well.
Perfect. Okay, great. Yeah, that sounds great. So are there different pole dancing competitions in organizations?
There are quite a few. It's grown a lot in the last few years. I started the first pole dancing organization in the United States called the U.S. Pole Dance Federation. I started it in 2008. Our first competition was in 2009, and our winner from 2009, her name is Janine Butterfly. She's probably one of the two most famous pole dancers in the world. And she is now in Cirque du Soleil in Vegas, the Michael Jackson show, doing the Dirty Diana section of the show. It's where she's like, yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, she's definitely a perfect example of what every pole dancer dreams that they could take their pole dancing to, that kind of level, being Cirque du Soleil. And there's another girl named Felix Kane that won one of the first pole dancing competitions in Australia that is, I mean, Australia has kind of become the mecca of pole dancing, if you will. And they have a champion. Her name is Felix Kane, and she won in 2006. I mean, her legs are to die for. She's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, and she's won that competition, I think, 3 times in like 7 years. And but since 2009, the industry has grown like wildfire. Now there's international competitions, there's local competitions, there's studio competitions, there's national competitions, there's all kinds. But my competition is relaunching itself. We took a little bit of a hiatus. I won't go into details, but a little hiatus. And we're relaunching this year, 2016. And our next competition is going to be on October 1st in New York City at Symphony Space Theater. And pardon me?
I said, fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited. And with pole dancing, for me, I've always wanted to showcase the sexy side of pole dancing, just because I think that's what makes it very unique to adult women. And it's something that could always just be sacred for women, for adult women. A lot of these other organizations want to really reach out to children and have kids start pole dancing, which is fine. You know, they do it very G-rated, and there's no high heels and, you know, whatever. They focus on the athletic side. But my thing is, if you're going to allow children into pole dancing, eventually they will dominate the industry, and there will be no room for old women, real adult women, to be doing it. Because there's already like some young girls that are coming in and doing amazing things, and people are just kind of like forgetting about the older women, and now they're focusing on the children. And I just feel like everything doesn't have to be exposed to children. Maybe those children should do gymnastics, and when they turn 18, then they can start pole dancing. I just want to keep it for women, you know. I want to keep it for adult women. I just think that makes it's special, and I don't want to lose that. And I think that if it goes into the Olympics, or if kids start doing it, and then women will have no place in it. And I would like it to be special for women.
So in your competition, and you have it in a theater, right, where not every organization does it in a theater setting. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we were the first one to have it in a theater and have organized judging, and we have a compulsory round and an optional round, so it makes it so the judging can be fair. Obviously, when you have the 2 rounds, it makes it easier for the judges to see who's really got their A game going. So we split it up, compulsory, optional, and the judging is very standardized, but it's based on performance. flexibility and transitions and a little bit of difficulty. But I don't put a ton of emphasis on difficulty because one, I don't want anybody performing and trying tricks that they're going to get injured trying to do to win a competition. And I like that the sensuality of dance and the strength of the resistance training are kind of combined together. There's not many sports that are like that, where you have the art of expression combined with resistance training. And so I like the two to be there. So I don't want it to just turn into a competition of athletics. So we're the U.S. Pole Dance Federation because I appreciate the art of dancing that is incorporated with the pole. And so, so we put that emphasis on the judging, and we make that clear to our athletes so that they know how to prepare properly and have a good chance of winning the show. So,
terrific. Now, you say with the judging, do you have certain skills that you look for, like a certain amount of skills that are, I know you said you don't put the emphasis on difficulty, but do the judges know the difference between climbing up the pole and a twirl down into a side plank into, like, is there a difference, a distinguishable difference between the tricks, not only for one who...
Well, it's hard. It's hard to tell because some people are naturally strong, and so the strength moves will come fairly easy. Some people have gymnastics backgrounds and they're daredevils and they're not afraid to do anything. And so something that's really scary but might not be that hard, but is scary trying it, they might, that might come naturally to them. Anything kind of that's dancey and requires a very complicated transition, obviously somebody with a dance background might be better at that. So it's hard to determine really what is actually difficult. And what is not difficult. We do put our judges, my organization puts our judges through a very thorough visual training of, and then we test them before they actually get in front of the athletes and judge them. So we school them on what the compulsory moves are and exactly how long they have to be held and what the requirements of them are, as far as how long they have to hold them, what grip they need to be using. So we're pretty specific and thorough when we train our judges. I don't know that every organization is like that. In fact, I know every organization is not like that, unfortunately. And we put our judges on contract and we pay them, and not every organization does that. And I just feel like nobody's going to take something seriously that they're not like being hired to do. And so I like to try to keep it very thorough that way so that nobody gets upset and feels like they got robbed at a competition. No politics. No politics in the U.S. Pole Dance Federation. You just either bring your A game that day of the competition or you don't. And if you don't, you're not going to win. So how it goes. Yeah, exactly. I won't play any favorites with anybody. And I have women that compete for my studio, and I'm just like, you better bring your A game because I'm not doing anybody any favors.
I can't do anything about it. It's on you.
Exactly. First of all, I'm not judging the show, and if you don't do well, I'm not doing you any favors. You need to actually do better than the other girl. To just even better than they would have to do, just because you're being watched, with a critical eye because you're coming from my studio. So, and
compulsory. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A compulsory routine, is that a routine that everyone does? That's the exact same routine. And about how long is that routine, and how does one find the compulsory routine, or how do they learn it?
90 seconds. We have three different levels here. We have novice, we have amateur, and we have professional. The professionals do two routines. They do an optional routine and the compulsory routine. The compulsory routine is 90 seconds long, and it has about 70 seconds of required moves in it. So, but there's still a huge emphasis on performance. So you can't just go up there and go trick, 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 trick. You got to find a way to dance your way through that. And so that's usually the challenge for the pros. For the amateurs this year, because we wanted to allow more people to compete in our organization, we're taking more athletes. And so now we're only having the amateurs do one routine, but has certain compulsory moves in it. And so, so for this one, for the amateurs, it's going to be, they'll have 3 required moves and then 30 seconds mandatory they have to do on the pole. And so it'll end up being probably about 40 seconds in a 3 to 3 minute and 10-second routine that is compulsory moves. So 40 seconds maybe of that will be compulsory moves. So it allows the athlete to still, put their own unique kind of flair into it and their own moves and transitions. But it just makes it so much easier for the judges if they're looking for the same criteria and everybody's judged the exact same on that exact criteria. It has to be the same grips, the same body positioning, everything. So
nice. So I do have another question that just came in, and it says, how did you decide you wanted to open a studio when pole fitness wasn't as popular? Because you've had it open now for how long? Your studio?
For almost 11 years. In October, it'll be 11 years.
Yeah, so it's pole fitness, I think, is significantly gained popularity. But what gave you, how did you decide that when you decided to open your studio that was the right time for you to do that?
Well, I mean, it was partly just sort of me and my friend powwowing, like I had said in the beginning, where she was like, "I want you to open up a studio." I'm like, I want to do it too. But I had actually just broken up with my boyfriend, and I was not feeling great about myself. And so after our conversation with her, I ended up going out and buying a pole and putting it up in my apartment.
Okay.
And I remember dancing one night and just getting off the pole and going, I'm super sexy. Like I'm pretty amazing. Like I just felt so good after dancing and like being able to express myself. And I mean, I was in my apartment all by myself. Nobody's watching. I wasn't even filming it. It's just the way that I felt. And then the next day I was really sore. My muscles were sore. And at that time I was still exercising and stuff. And I was just like, I can't even believe that how good I feel. And I'm a personal trainer. And I thought, you know what? So many women can benefit from this. It's hard for me sometimes to get my female clients to lift really heavy weights. Oh, that's too heavy. I can't do that. But they really want to get up that pole and they're lifting their whole body weight, So it's so anyway, after I felt that way that day, I was just like, I have to do this. This is something that women need this in their lives. Like this is so important. And so it made me kind of put a fire under me and go out and find some space in Manhattan and start getting a studio open so I can start introducing pole dancing. So
wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, talk about getting a little fire lit under your to get it going.
Whenever I feel crappy, I'm just like, I'm gonna put a good song on and just dim the lights and just dance around, and I mean, it feels really amazing. And it's like, you dance like nobody's watching.
Right.
Although pole dancers are obsessed with videotaping themselves, but for the most part, you dance like nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching except for the million YouTube followers that you have.
Exactly. 10 million people on Instagram. Exactly. So true. That's right. But that's exciting because then it's like all these people are watching you, but it's still safe.
Right.
So
right.
It's nice that we have those opportunities if you do want to put it on social media.
Yeah, that is great. Is there, as far as like the pole and the safety of the pole, like getting it set up and, because I know you have a studio there, so your poles are stationary there. What are some of the requirements that you need to have when you're using like the pole safely? So like if someone had it at their home, is there certain ways that it has to stay in place permanently, or can it be taken up and down? Or
most of the poles, there's 3 major pole companies basically in the world right now that are pretty much dominating the industry. Loop It Pole, X Pole, and Platinum Stages. And they all are good in their own right. One's better with multi-piece poles. Other ones are better with regular like studio poles that go, are one piece. And some are better with like stage poles where it's like a pole that you can take on the go. So you basically have those 3 major companies, but they all usually have something that's basically like a tension rod. And so the pole basically kind of similar like a cheap shower curtain. You can keep kind of opening it until it keeps expanding, and then it braces between the 2 walls. The poles do the same thing, but it braces between the floor and the ceiling. And you can put flanges in and have them permanently put into your ceilings and your floors if you want. But the tension rods work actually quite well. The first couple of years I had my studio, I used tension rods, and I mean, they were pretty much solid, great poles and safe. So, if you're looking to put up a pole in your home, I'd probably start with Loop It Pole. They're sponsoring our competition on October 1st, and they've been lovely to deal with, and they have a really, really, really great pole. It spins really nice and is very safe and easy to set up.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, anybody can put a pole up. Basically, it's not rocket science. But you know, if you want to do some really crazy tricks, I would definitely encourage you to permanently install it, just because you know you never know.
Just to be safe. Yeah, there was
Yeah,
a couple of the bloopers that were on YouTube that were enough to make your heart jump, and
yeah.
they were not quite secured.
You're like, what'd you do? Tape that pole up? Like, how did that pole up go up? I mean, like I said, the tension rods are pretty solid. But if you're doing like really advanced stuff where there's impact against the pole, like you're throwing your body away and coming back into the pole, that pole needs to be nailed into the ceiling and the floor. I mean, you know, but you know,
Right.
spins and inverts and all that stuff, all these tension rods are built to support that kind of that weight. It just has to be put up with the level so it's straight and it doesn't compromise the stability of the pole.
Right. Great. Now, Wendy, can you leave us with maybe like 3 takeaway points with pool fitness? Either inspirational notes or things to think about, because that way it could leave our listeners with just a little bit more.
Um, Well, if you're looking to try pole dancing, I would definitely try to start out at the most basic level and build a solid foundation. It's like any other fitness and any other kind of sport or exercise that you would do. You have to build a good foundation and then build on that. So I would probably look a little kind of question a studio that would want to flip me upside down in the first month that I'm pole dancing. You know, you should be doing upright things, building upper body strength. You really need to become aware of your body. So, you know, use your brain when you're looking for a studio and when you go in for that first class or two, because some studios will try to flip you upside down the first. And I'm just like, let's not break our neck on the first class. Definitely. I was trying not to break those. Yeah, and stretching is always good, because the more limber you are, the less likely you're going to injure yourself. And the better your pole dancing is going to feel, the better your dancing is going to feel, and you're also going to be able to do more as you grow. The more limber you are, because most everything requires a split or a back bend when you get to the upper levels. So when you first start, you want to start on that flexibility right from the get-go, and don't wait until you're starting to invert to start trying to, you know, bend over and touch your toes.
Right.
And have an open mind. You know, I mean, you know, try something different. It's always good. Even if you try pole dancing and it's not for you, you're going to at least have a good laugh and be experiencing something that you never experienced before. So I say just at least go out and try it. And, you know, more than likely you're going to fall in love with it, though. So be careful, because pole dancing can be addictive.
You know, going back to a different point that you just had said about the stretching, do you, when you're teaching your classes, do you leave a segment of time for stretching, like at the beginning and at the end?
Yep, static stretching, active isolated stretching, movement, anything to warm the body up and to, you know, get the mobility and the flexibility going before you start pole dancing. Absolutely. My warm up is usually about 15 to 20 minutes, and most of the instructors here in New York pole dancing, their warm up is about 15 to 20 minutes. So, and I'm working on probably maybe even adding like a PT class, so that people can come in and do rotator cuff exercises, hamstring exercises, you know, that sort of thing, just because those are injuries that sometimes pole dancers will suffer when they start to get to that upper level, because they're really trying to push themselves. So it's important. My definition of a finely tuned machine is when your strength and your flexibility are equal.
Yeah.
You know, you're less likely to injure yourself. So yeah. So.
Terrific. Well, I love it. Wendy, this has been amazing just having you on as our guest today, and really enlightening us more about the pole fitness industry and about the U.S. Pole Fitness Dance Fitness Federation.
Which you can go to uspoledance.com if you want to check out information about the organization.
Awesome. And the upcoming competition, which is October 1st. So yeah, definitely check it out on the website. Yeah. And if you're not ready for competition, you might just go out and support it and see what it's all about. So
yeah, it'll be a great show. We make our shows about 2.5 hours, so it's not too much for the audience, but it's enough for you to sit down and really enjoy a show, and then go out and have a drink or a steak or something.
Nice. That's great. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for joining us today. I think you have given our listeners some really amazing tips and advice, and I think we're really appreciative of having you here, such an expert in your industry. So thank you, Wendy.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everybody that logged in, and I hope that you'll try pole dancing no matter where you're at in the world because it's all over the place.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wendy. Have a great night. And I'm
All right,
Laura Mack with Living Fit Now.
excellent. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So do we just hang up?